Now we're going to explore how individuals sabotage their time. Now, I like to say that people carry spare tires. Now, I'm not talking about being overweight, please. I'm not judging anyone about your personal lifestyle choices. What I'm talking about here is a visual mnemonic or acronym called TIRES. Now, T stands for task switching, Y stands for saying yes, R stands for residual work, E stands for taking the path of least effort, and S stands for shallow level work. So let's deep dive into each one of these, because chances are you're probably committing 1, 2, 3, or maybe even all of these on a day-to-day basis in your own work, and it's probably getting in the way of your productivity without you even realizing it. So task switching. There's a myth that people are capable of multitasking, but the reality is every time you multitask, your brain needs to recalibrate around a new context. One, that's exhausting, but two, it means that when you get back to that original task, you suffer a cognitive switching penalty. Now, if I happen to be in the flow state, if I have cultivated that ability, and I'm, say, 200 words into an article and it's going well, but then someone sends me a text message and I reach for that, I respond to the message, takes about a minute, I get back to writing the article. Now, studies show that it can take us about 23 minutes to get back in the flow state after a distraction or switching tasks. Now, when you think about that, if I am switching tasks all day long, then it's no wonder that we're not spending any time in flow, right? Because it's not just a text message, it's email, jumping into email, it's Slack, it's taps on the shoulder, it's housemates, roommates, family members if we're working from home, it's colleagues if we're working in an office. There are so many things that get in the way of us staying in the flow state. Not only that, but micro switches. So it could be that I see that text message on my phone, but I don't click on it, I don't respond, I just notice it. Now that's a micro task switch. My brain still has to notice it, still needs to evaluate it, process it, determine what I'm going to do with that information. I could go straight back to work. But that 1/10 of a second micro task switch, if we have many of those appear over the course of our day, that can add up to a 40% productivity loss as well. So be conscious of these task switches. Now, the average person is actually switching tasks or switching screens every 40 seconds in a standard 8-hour workday. Now, that adds up to about 373 task switches a day. Now, of course, now it makes sense why people don't spend any time in flow. When we are switching tasks every 40 seconds, bing, a bell goes off and we're like Pavlov's dog, just salivating. Oh, what's that notification? And it doesn't need to be a notification. Oftentimes it starts with us, and we're going to get into our own sort of internal distractions and our own internal triggers that force us to get away from what we're doing and pursue other easier activities or tasks. Now, when it comes to distractions or external distractions, the average person receives about 46 push notifications a day. We're processing hundreds of instant messages through Slack or Microsoft Teams, including a lot of cat videos and things that just aren't remotely related to our work, which might be fun, and I'm not saying don't do any of that stuff, but be conscious about how you use it. Physical interruptions, and think about this. Smartphone time. The average person spends about 4 hours a day staring at their smartphone. So what I would invite you to do at this point, if you have an Apple phone, go to your settings, check your screen time, and see what it is. You might be shocked to find that it could be 4 or even 5 hours a day. Then you can even deep dive into what you're spending your time doing on your phone. And you might find that you spend 3 hours a day on Instagram. Now it's for you to determine whether or not that is a useful use of your time, or whether or not you could be doing something better with that time. And think about all the things we say we don't have time for, but then somehow we find 2 or 3 hours a day to spend on Instagram or maybe Clubhouse nowadays, which is the popular app of the day at the moment. And if you use Android, well, you can use the digital well-being tool to do the same and find out what your screen time is.